Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Spurs Gimo, 10th Man, and Paul. Very good to have you all.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello. Any signs of Earth curvature?
None whatsoever, Nathan.
Nope.
No.
What about axial rotation?
I'm not that either.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Just a light in the sky.
Certainly is. What about scientific evidence of gravity?
They keep saying it's there, but I've never felt it or seen it.
No? What about evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Only when I have an upset stomach, it's in the center of my tummy.
Paul, Spurs? I hold out so much hope for this one.
Nope.
Oh, come on.
Nope, not yet.
Spurs, come on.
I just
come
had
on.
that fun video that came on Facebook sometime.
Molten iron core, Spurs. On your travels, they must have proven it at some point. You're out there. You're with these people who believe in this shit. I mean, fact of life that they claim.
No, it's all presupposed, all assumed.
Damn it.
I think they're happy with the assumption because I did ask M. Scott Beach, Mr. Scott, as I call him, is he 100% sure? They're only 99% sure, so they're not completely convinced. They're confident, 99% confident, but not 100%. So.
Oh, well, then let's teach that shit in schools. I mean, that fact that's 99% made up on the spot. So what about the presupposition of Earth radius itself, then? Let's not have so lofty ambitions and look to the molten iron core. What about Earth radius?
Well, again, they're 99% sure or confident that the numbers are correct.
The numbers aren't correct. They can't even break it down 8 inches per mile squared to validate the R radius.
Well, last but no means least, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
One of the easiest ones out there for people to see.
No, again, they're 99% sure that a vacuum can coexist next to gas pressure.
Well, how come we're 100% sure it can't?
Because
And
it's
I'm
a
not
natural
even
law.
about it.
Sure,
Yeah,
completely
because
true, right?
yeah, we're 100% sure that can't possibly be the case because it would violate a law of nature.
Well, they're 99% sure that it's a reality. So,
Yeah, but they're scientists, and I'm just a farmer, and I'm 100% sure it's not possible. I can't see it. It's not demonstrated. I've never observed it. If I want propane in my a 500-gallon propane tank. I need a tank. I need a container. The truck comes here with the container.
Well,
with the
hold on, because the ball earthers would say, can you be 100% sure on anything?
Yes.
How? Talk to us.
Well, I'll just use the last
If you drop
example.
a ball 1,000
hang
times.
Hang
Okay,
on.
sorry.
Hang
Go
on.
ahead. Go ahead.
I'll just use this last example since we fed off of it. I live in the country. I have to provide for my own gas, so natural gas. So we call it propane here, and I have to order it once a year. I have a 500-gallon tank. You can only fill up 80% of it because in the wintertime, summertime, the expansion rate within the tank. So that being said, a truck pulls up with a bigger tank that the gas is in. I've never seen a truck pull up without a container with my gas that I pay money for. Well, he puts a hose, which is another container, of course, linear, long, and he pulls the gas from the bigger tank into my smaller tank through pressure. And if I didn't have a tank or a container, that would dissipate in the air, and I would be paying money for nothing. And the gas is free. Sounds like a song, eh, Nathan?
Yeah, we're talking about a law of nature. Without the container, there can be no pressure.
But to the ball earthers, there's a chance. I think that's what they work on, probability. So they might say there is a chance that a vacuum could.
Oh, you brought up my favorite word.
I just want to address that before you do, 10th man. There is no chance of gas pressure existing without pressing on something. So there is no chance. That's why we have these laws of nature. Now, if that was a chance, then demonstrate it and claim your Nobel Prize for violating a law of nature. You're not going to. It's a law of nature, and space, outer space, is a violation of that law of nature, because the gas can't press on a vacuum, it would disperse into it.
Okay, so I was saying like it's a psychological thing. You were saying like a model is we don't live in a model, so it's just an idea. Okay, so the idea in the heliocentric model or the Big Bang is that given enough time, anything can happen. So there's a chance like the Big Bang happened, exploded. So within those rounds for them, it's possible, Nathan. Unfortunately, that it's possible for them, and that's why I think we have to try and
Can I address that, Spurs?
Yeah, sure.
All right, I'll do it in two parts. The propane, so I could put that to bed. My neighbor is a baller. He also owns a container in which he puts his gas in. I would like for him to put his money where his mouth is. Order the truck to come here without a container saying it has gas. Have him take a hose attached to nothing and put it into no tank on his property. Have him take money out.
We know that.
No, let me finish. Let me finish.
Okay, sorry.
Have him take money out and pay for this nothing that got contained in nothing. And with a nice smile on his face and say, see, it's true. You can't have gas pressure without a container.
Hey, Jessica. Hey, Travis. Good to have you both.
That we know that will never happen. So this is why you don't beg the question and you just do it this way. Now, my second one's a little bit more stronger, I think. A 747 jetliner has 7 million parts. Let's take it all apart. Every rivet, every screw, every Velcro piece, every piece of carpet, every mile of wiring, window, everything. Let's lay it on the flat desert floor, even next to each other. Now, we'll even put the tools there that we took it apart from. All the right tools for those parts for that jetliner. We'll lay it right there. Now, we'll say, let's test this, begging the question of chance. How long would it take? And what would it take to put that plane back together if we supplied you the parts that were already made, which, of course, evolution has to answer for that still, but let's just say we gave them that. And we even gave them the tools that we disassembled the plane into 7 million parts. We lay it there all together. Now you have as much time as you want. When is that plane going to get back together?
Anything's possible.
Thank you very much. Narnia.
Yeah, you're right, Nathan, with this Narnia analogy, because this is what I'm highlighting. And hopefully the ball earthers can realize it's true. Anything is possible in there.
But they won't, Spurs. They won't. Only some will.
Yeah, but hopefully they see that, you know, that anything ridiculous is possible in their reality.
Because they've changed the word chance as to meaning causal power. Did you know that chance is nothing? If Nathan's going to the store to get milk and I'm going to the store to get beer and we run into each other, I come home and tell my wife, hey, guess what? I ran into Nathan at the store by chance. Well, actually, it's just a probability word. But chance had nothing to do with it. Nathan was going to the store whether I was going or not.
Well, no,
And
I think.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Sure.
So what they've done is they've hijacked the word chance to mean causality. All it does is explains probability, because in and of itself is nothing. Chance doesn't do anything. It just describes something. Okay? So when you take
what I mean is,
let me round it out. So when you take causal power away from chance, their argument dies. Now they have to prove chance is a causal power, which they can't.
Okay, so
the other thing too, along those same lines, if I could say something real quick, just jumping in, I'm trying to listen. You also got to show how time has causal power. Time has no causal power. It's a convention we use to measure something. So you got to show the time has causal power as well.
I think what they're up against is purpose. So was this place designed on purpose, or was it by chance? That's what we're dealing with here. So if it was by chance, then anything can happen. Anything is possible. You can have a vacuum.
No, you're begging the question. There is no causal power to chance. I've got to shut you down there.
Let me just interrupt for 1 second. Sorry.
I never get to finish a sentence.
Guys. We're going back 3 steps when we only need to go back 1 step. So you're talking about the chance over time. Well, with time, entropy increases. So unfortunately, no, that argument doesn't stack up when it comes to the vacuum of the sky, unfortunately. No. With time, more entropy. Bad news if you're going to assert that the gas isn't going to fill the space. With time, wrong.
Spurs, I was just trying to pull a Nathan on the begging the question. The minute someone says, given enough time and chance, I said, no, there is no causal power to chance, and just end it right there, because there isn't. How can I let them keep talking when there isn't?
I'm just looking at it from their perspective. This is what they say, right? How did the Big Bang happen? You know, if there was nothing for whatever period, and then something happened, they say, given enough time or a period, the Big Bang, you know, was a something that was very rare, because Big Bangs don't happen all the time like this. And now
they do.
Well, I don't know if they do or not. Big Bangs happen all the time, but you know that's what they say. It's very rare occurrence.
Who says that?
Well,
can I say something, 10th man, before you jump in?
Well, hang on. We're on the line of thread here. Who says Big Bang, and who says they happen often or not? Who says that?
Can I just point out that Spurs is playing devil's advocate and doing a great job at the moment, so before we tear him too hard.
Well, if he's going to play devil's advocate, he's asking me to play my side too. And
right. Agreed.
Okay, so all I'm doing is playing my side. So where's that source of that information that Big Bangs happen all the time? And black holes, like the one, a couple of weeks ago, that so-called picture of one that looked like a donut?
Yeah.
Okay, so who is putting out that information? Isn't this the same institutes that tell us you can have gas pressure without a container?
Okay.
All right, so when I find someone lying I look at their next statement a little bit more carefully. If I see that they're lying about their next statement, I'm pretty much done with them. I mean, one lie, maybe accidental, maybe not on purpose, maybe exaggerate a story. But when it's on purpose, time after time after time, then I already know the source is bad.
No, well, I'm just looking at how they get away with what they're saying, right? With what they're doing.
They're not getting away with what they're saying and they're doing. These are willing accomplices who believe it.
Oh, I've got to disagree. So this is the first point I made with you, Spurs. The way they get away with it is because there's specific key parts of the narrative that go unquestioned when you have certain arguments. In other words, space, the vacuum thereof, is assumed to be real when you talk about the moon landings and argue about them. So that's automatically assumed that you can have a violation of the law of nature, and you can travel through said violation to get to what they say is a rock that you can travel to. So all those things remain in hand and assumed throughout that discussion. Well, that's how they get away with it, because nobody's questioning the space bit. Well, the vacuum of the sky is real. Well, of course it is. Let's not question that. Let's question about whether or not they kick up dust when they're using a buggy. You see what I mean? That's how they get away with it.
Yeah.
Nathan, my point of getting away with it and willing accomplices was obviously in reference to us talking to them and them still believing the lie. That's what I meant.
Oh, I just think they're deluded.
Well, they want to be, because it's not important for them to see the evidence and do something about it. Now, when I saw it, I did something about it. I can't explain why, but I did.
I think they're afraid to let go. Because I am speaking with these globalists, and the feeling is, if they let the globe go, where do they go? What do? They feel. It seems the feeling is that they will be completely lost. Because
I can answer that. So
to them, I'm not saying to everyone here on the panel. I'm just saying to them, it's either science or religion. So they don't want religion. So if science, or the version of science that they feel is science, is they have to let it go. The question is, where do they go? Because remember, they're always asking us, well, what's the shape then? Give us the model. Give us something. So they want something to replace this globe, because they don't want religion. They want a scientific, or how they see science. They want a scientific explanation to replace the one they already have.
Yeah, they want a new just so story. That's why I said earlier, you don't need to give them a just so story. You don't need to decide whether or not the moon's a physical place that you can travel to and come up with a story either not or based on that fact that you've made up. You don't have to do any of that to pummel the living daylights out of their assumption.
Think about it. If Flat Earth came out today on the news...
Hey, Nathan.
If it came out today on the news, all of these people, what do you think would happen?
I'll tell you exactly what would happen. What would happen, Spurs, is that they would have to question other narratives given to them by the people they trust. Their television sets, their radios, their newspapers, all of these sources would suddenly come under a great deal of scrutiny. So if they've lied to us about the moon landings and about the very nature of our reality, what else have they lied to us about?
That would cause anarchy.
So it shatters the very foundations of the trust we have in our governments and our news organisations. So you absolutely don't want to lose control, and trust is a fundamental part of that control. So what do upon finding out that they've been lied to on a huge scale? They suddenly have a look at other things, and that's where they're scared. Because if they've been lied to and fooled, which is what this boils down to, I and you were fooled into believing we live on a sphere, well then, what else are we being lied to about? How else have they fooled us? That's what happens. And that's the scary bit for a lot of people. I've heard globers, and I felt quite a lot of pity for the particular glober, whose name I won't mention in this instance, out of respect for the pity I felt for him, when he described the fear of having to question all of the other things around him in his day-to-day existence. Well, are they lying to me?
That's what I'm talking about. The fear. This is why we're seeing the aggression and the anger from these ball earthers. This is how I see it. They take it out on flat earthers because they can't take it out on authority, right? They would be arrested. They would probably, go to jail, things like that. So they attack the messenger. And, I do think most of them realize they have nowhere to go. The Earth is flat, there's no ball. But what, again, for me, they want something. We can either just say, go along on your merry way, we don't have anything to offer you, which we probably don't, or we can try and find a solution of, I don't know, exploration or something like this. But for me, the ball earthers will be completely lost, or that's the feeling, is that they will feel, well, what do we do now? What now?
Well, Spurs, you said something earlier. You said it's between science and religion, but science is a religion.
Okay.
So now the two ontological primitives is either everything came from nothing, or based on what we know about information in all life forms, everything came from someone called the creator.
Science is not a
Intelligence,
religion.
conscious,
Science.
conscious. Okay, now man is called
Sorry, I've got to get this in.
creator.
I just don't want it to go floating by. Science isn't a religion, it's a method.
No, I agree. The true science is, the pseudoscience, I should correct myself. The pseudoscience is a religion.
Thank you.
So with that, thank you for catching me. But my point is this, that since we know that information in the DNA code is in every living cell, we know that could not possibly come from nothing. It had to come from an intelligence, a conscious. So the two ontological primitives, either everything comes from nothing, or everything came from someone with intelligence.
Got to correct you again.
So that's where,
got to correct you. Sorry, I keep doing this.
Go
I'm
ahead.
really sorry, 10th man. So everything from nature or intelligent design.
Thank you. Like everything from nature or intelligence design. So then they have somewhere to go. They know that information is the building block of life. They have somewhere to go. And it doesn't mean religion, where man came in and did the same thing to religion as they did to pseudoscience. Try to control people with their various narratives of this religion and that religion. Forget religion. Just what do you see? You see life. You see design. All right. Well, it's right there. You have somewhere to go.
I think there's an aspect of this too that comes to the idea of responsibility. If you found out that things that people have told you are not true, then you're going to have to take responsibility to try to find out what is true. But that also goes to the next level too, even with the ontological primitives. If there's a designer, then there's responsibility if there's meaning and purpose in this creation. So you have responsibility there as well. So what are you going to do there? So I think it really comes down to, as long as it's somebody else's information, as long as it's somebody else's, preaching or teaching, whatever, then they don't have to hold responsibility for themselves. It's somebody else's responsibility. So I think there's an aspect of it in that as well. And also, to go back to before the show started, I was thinking about this myself. If you think about all the questions, they're shooting at the foundation of the current worldview of this world. They're shooting at it like we're supposed to live on a ball. So where's this curvature they're speaking about? We live in this vacuum of space. Well, how do you have that without a container? It starts to shoot at the foundation of everything that the heliocentric model is built on. You're shooting at shoot at the foundation, not the tree branches.
Right on. Stunned Spurs to silence. You're a great devil's advocate, by the way. You know their arguments really well, but you also inherit some of their obfuscation tactics. Sorry, Spurs. Gotta say it. Hey, Zinda. How you doing?
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
The thing is, you see, I have a great deal of sympathy for the opposition here, because it's not their fault. It's
right.
not their argument.
Yeah,
they didn't
Zinda.
create any of the arguments that I put forward. And, to see so much emotion over something that, they didn't create, for me, I feel sympathy. So I try as much as I can to look at it from their perspective and, try to dismantle it from the inside. So if they can't explain it from the inside, it usually helps them, see the bigger picture.
I wonder how grateful Cinder is. Are you pleased to hear that? Spurs has got a lot of sympathy for you. He feels sorry for you, Cinder.
Yeah, I actually came here to tell Chemo that Chemo, don't let your dreams be dreams.
Mhm.
You know everything is possible. Don't let your hope go. Always stay positive.
Yes. Everything.
Because of the conversation you had like 10 minutes before.
Yes. Anything is possible.
Remember that, Chemo. And I feel sorry for you too.
That's really sweet. Thank you, Cinder.
That's great.
I'm quite touched.
Yes. Okay. Have a nice day, guys. Thank you very much.
Cinder.
Bye.
That was excellent Globe Earth input that you gave us there. Thank you.
Hey, Spurs.
Hello.
Yeah, you are doing something. You're starting the conversation. When you run into a buzzsaw because they choose to believe the pseudoscience lies, and you make an attempt to bring new information to them, you are showing sympathy. It's just not being met with openness. Now, you may have just planted the seed. So then they go 2-3 months and someone at work brings it up, some other flat earther. Eventually, they're going to have to deal with it. So don't try to make the grape become wine in one day.
No, of course not. I mean, I've understood this is a marathon, right? Not a sprint. And there's 7 billion people to conversate with and explain that we've been lied to, basically. You see? So yeah, it's not a rush, but yeah, I feel there is because I remember how it was, right? The outrage, like I felt when I found this out. So I just see that rage with the ball earthers. They're just continuing that rage. They just won't let it go. So
they can't.
I feel.
They can't let it go. I mean, I had a conversation with someone who has very similar stances on views that I do. And I brought up gas pressure without a container. And this person wanted to go on to other things. I said, first of all, let's go back to gas pressure without a container. I asked you before I started the conversation of what the Earth shape possibly might be. I asked you a direct question. Can you have gas pressure without a container? And you said what? He said, no. I said, okay, then I introduced to you this concept of gas pressure without a container as applied to the heliocentric model versus the geocentric model, et cetera, et cetera. And he went into all these different arguments. And I said, I'm not even going to go there. You already stated you cannot have gas pressure without a container. When you figure that one out, come back.
Right.
And this person said so many foolish things in front of other people that the conversation got a little bit elevated, you might say. And this was a very calm setting to begin with. And I said, look, you've already answered the question. It's impossible for space to exist with a vacuum. Come back with something legitimate and we could continue the conversation. And I left them there. I left them there in the angst. Don't you see? The truth allows for the angst to occur in the person's mind. It's going to bother them all week now. Now they got to go check it out. And if they check it out, it's going to be true. If I keep telling them, they're just going to keep fighting me with all these stupid arguments they've heard over the years.
Well, yeah, look, it is a difficult thing to let go. I think as flat earthers,
Well, how difficult was it for you?
In the beginning, 5-6 years ago, yeah, it was difficult. I mean, it was like, what? You mean the Earth's not a ball? It's not spinning? We've been like, what do you mean? It's not easy to let go. So it wasn't that long. It was about, about a week when I was like, the ball earthers don't seem to be providing enough evidence. But, becoming a full-fledged flat earther wasn't overnight, right? And I don't think anybody will become a flat earther overnight because it's such a huge shock, right?
I did.
But I would say it wasn't difficult for you. It just took time for processing of these new ideas to take shape in your mind because you were being critical. And so I wouldn't use the word difficult. You could say it took time, but you were constantly thinking about it. You were constantly checking one source against another. So you were active in your unbrainwashing, if that's a word. Where these other people, they don't even want to spend 2 minutes afterwards in checking out what you're saying. So
because the main reason, look, I've spoken with many ball earthers, right? And you can get them to concede when they're on the ball, okay? But what happens is they say, well, why would they lie? They say, what's the lying? And if you can't give a sophisticated answer on why and how they've lied, like explain who's lied, when they've lied, you know, this is what happens. You can get the globe earther very close to the Earth, but they want to know why would they lie, how did they lie?
Hey,
I can answer that.
Can I speak to that?
Hey,
I can
Sleeping.
answer
Hold
that.
on, before
Paul,
you do.
take it over after me.
Hold on, sorry. Hey, Sleeping Warrior, can you hear us?
Oh,
Hello, good to have you.
Hey, Spurs. Maybe a 4-year-old might say that, or a 5-year-old. Why would they lie? Because they're still, trust adults. But as an adult, you already know intuitively if they did lie, and you're not on the sphere. You already know several ideas are popping through your mind as to why they did lie. One would be control of the population and control of a narrative. That would be right there at the top. So you have an idea why they're lying. So when someone says, who's an adult, okay, I concede the earth is not a ball, but why would they lie? Yeah. I say, well, let me ask you a question. Why do you think they would lie? And they say it. They give the same answer I would give,
just add
but
something?
I just throw it back.
Sorry.
And they say,
hey, Chocolate saying, how you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning. Why speak to motivation at all? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's an interesting question. In fact, it's probably the most fascinating question of all. Why? However, if you have established that they've lied in the first instance, what difference does the motivation make? They've lied.
Because people think they're special and they think that the governments are protecting them like they're guardians. And this is a psychological thing. This is the thing, you see. The impression I'm getting is they wouldn't lie to me. Like, they look after me.
They're
they
daddy.
Me.
They're my daddy. They won't lie to me.
Right. This is the feeling that they get. Like, they just wouldn't lie to me. Why on earth would my government do this to me when I have the opportunity to do anything in this world? I can be an astronaut, I can be a pilot. They wouldn't lie to me. So again, because what I was going to say is there are two types of ball earthers. You get the ball earther who just say, no, you're a moron, it's nonsense, and just go about their business, right? But if you get the ball earther who's like, okay, explain to me what the flat earth is, what is it, then to them, it's why would they lie? They know it's not a ball, but they just want, why would they lie? And you'll get a conversation from that type of ball earther because, they know that you're onto something, but they just want it to be a sophisticated answer. And
so you throw the question back. Why do people lie in the first place anyway? Why would anyone lie about anything?
No, again, this is more than that because again, they feel protected.
No. I'm saying that if you want to pull it out of an individual that you're one-on-one with, I'm not talking about 7 billion people here. I'm talking about if you're talking to a baller, and that came up for me many times. I immediately said, well, what is the motivation of a liar to lie about anything? Have you ever been lied to about something? They said, oh yeah, a lot. I go, give me an example. And they did. I said, so why did that person lie? Well, because he wanted my money. I said, okay. So why would they lie about the place you live on?
No, it's bigger than this. It's bigger than this because the same people that are shaking your hand are the same people that are lying to you. So they can't see that behind the back is one hand doing one thing.
But that's before you started talking to them. Once you get them to see that they've been lied to, let's go from that point on. You're transitioning to something that hasn't happened, and I can't go there once I'm on this side of the argument. So if they know that they've been lied to about the globe and they're asking you why, they've already know and identified the lie. So now you ask them, why do you think they're lying to you based on other liars and experiences in your life when other people lied to you?
Hey, Owen.
Hello.
They give the
Hello.
answer. They will give the answer right there. They're not stupid.
Anthony, fix your mic. I think you were trying to say something, but you had problems before, didn't you? So I don't know what's wrong with your audio.
No, he's all good. We've sound checked him. He's all good.
Oh, did he sound check? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, the most important thing. Sorry, go on.
I'm just being polite and putting myself on mute.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
I remember when I was buying insurance for the first time when I got married, that an insurance salesman, God forbid, he lied to me. Well, I found out, and I went back, faced them, and told him, "Why'd you lie to me? I had the contract in hand that he misrepresented to me." And he would never answer my question and started demeaning me, ad homing me. I caught him.
Again, if you tell people the reason why they've lied about the shape of the earth, I mean, think about it. You've got to tell the person the reason. Why would they do this? Not. I mean, they can see that it's observably flat, so they get that, but they just can't grasp. The world is functioning. You know, things work in this world to them, that is. And
Why would I have to tell them the reason?
If there is order, this would create disorder. So that to them, it's like there's just no way they would create this level of disorder. You see?
Okay.
You got it backwards.
Let me just ask a quick question.
They're in disorder, and we're giving them order, and you're asking me to tell them why someone lied to them when they're going to know inwardly why they were lied to, because order is the truth, disorder is the chaos from the lies.
Can I just ask Spurs a quick question? Spurs, do you know the story of the Emperor's new clothes?
Yeah, but he's naked and stuff like that.
Right. So a con man talks him into letting him make some fake clothes, basically, and everyone buys into the narrative apart from a child at the end that knows the score. Now, if you remove the payment aspect, so the tailor is being paid, but if that wasn't part of the story, if it was completely left out of the story, would it alter in any way the outcome of the story?
Right.
In other words, even though that's part of the story, that there's a payment, that he's doing it to con money, it doesn't change or alter the story if you don't have the motivation. In other words, you're saying, well, they'll immediately question the motivation of the liars. Well, you can't necessarily speak to that motivation, is something I've learned. It's the most interesting part, and it's the bit you want to chase down immediately. Why did they lie to me? But you may never find the answer, but that doesn't alter the lie. And that's the bit that you should focus on rather than the motivation.
Sorry, but there is a reason for lying about something on this scale. They would think, no?
Yeah, and I don't know the answer. I can't speak to the motivation of men or which men it was that started, which ones perpetuated, which ones are innocent and just went along with it. I can't speak to any of that.
But that's the beauty of it, Spurs. Let them come to that answer on their own time of research and introspection, because then they will have sweat equity into the topic.
Okay, good.
Can I use an illustration?
Go ahead, Paul.
Can I use an illustration that might help too? There's when a detective goes into a room and he sees a dead body laying on the floor, he has to try to figure out one of two options. Which is it? Is it natural or is it homicide? Which means an agent caused it or somebody intelligently killed him. So he goes through all these processes and he walks out after all of his investigation. He realizes he was murdered. The next question in his mouth isn't necessarily why the person killed the person. All he knows at this point is it's a murder. That's all he knows at this point.
Who?
Now, through court examination,
Who is the next question?
Oh, I'm sorry, Nathan. I for some reason I didn't catch it again. Who asked the next question?
You got only a few questions. Who, what, where, why. So who would be the next question? When is the only other question you could ask.
Right. Well, yeah, right. And when was he murdered? Then you go into who murdered him, and then you go into why. So the why question is at the tail end of the investigation. I guess that's where you were helping me go in the right direction. And ultimately, only the person that killed the person can truly answer that question. All we know is it's a murder. That's all we know.
Paul, we
At this
are
point
at the tail
in our
end.
investigation.
Paul, this is the tail end. We've got the ball earthers asking the question, well, why? You know, they've bypassed or not, you know, they've asked a few questions. What's the shape? What, you know, give us the model. Okay, we don't have a model. Give us the dimension. Okay, we don't have that. You know, they understand all of these things. They're not arguing now. They're on to the why. A lot of these boys, well, why would they?
See, here's the thing. Ultimately, we don't know. Like that's what Nathan was driving at. I think we may not know.
I know.
Hold on, Spurs. You're asking and answering your own question, and I think 10th Man's helping you along, which is to say, when you got them to the point that they start questioning the motivation, then maybe they're halfway there after all. You know, maybe me decrying this method is completely incorrect, because ultimately speaking, if they're questioning the motivation of the lie, they at least at some level appreciate that they've been lied to, even if they're not prepared to admit it to themselves or others.
Exactly, and you know, and that's why I was saying there are types of ball earthers. If you say the Earth's not a ball, it's flat, they'll just say it's nonsense and walk away, go about their everyday lives. But then, you know, others are curious. What do you mean? And then they'll think about it and then bypass all of that and then ask why. So it's not very difficult to know the Earth is flat. That's how powerful flat Earth is. You don't have to spend years and years pondering, well, is it a ball? Is it flat? Is it a ball? You know, it's a really quick conversation. Water's flat. It cannot conform around the exterior of an object. This doesn't take years in a university to understand these things, right? So, Paul, they bypass that very quickly because the brain does do that. It's like, well, okay, well, why? Why are they lying? I don't, you know, everything seems to be working. You know, we have everything functioning. Why would they lie? Right?
Well, Spurs, we had a ball busters. We had a ball busters this last weekend on evolution, and I just got my book, Bones of Contention, by an author named Lubinow. And he goes through and he documents all the fossil findings from the beginning of Darwin to you know, the writing of the book. And he shows how they, on purpose, filed this bone to make it fit this and that and that. And they even in court admitted that they lied. And yet in our school textbooks to this day, they still keep talking about these so-called fossil findings, which were lies to begin with to keep the evolution lie going. So it's not just space. It's just not the shape of the Earth. It's many things.
Shout out to Trish Blythe for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed for your support. Really do appreciate it.
And here's the thing too about that. Even trying to ask the question why. I mean, if you got to think about it, try to press them down on who do you think lied to you. Like if I say, well, my teachers lied to me. Well, but if they were taught a lie, they're just perpetuating the lie. So the teacher, you can argue that they're just saying, well, I think this is true, so I'm just saying what I think is true to you. So you know, I think we're so removed sometimes where this all started. I mean, as a Christian, I think 10th Man could probably agree. We think we know the answer to this ultimately, why. But I mean, if you're trying to get to, like, why would the government lie? Well, I mean, the first illustration I think of right now that I focused more over the last 3 years, and I've brought it up on this show, is vaccines. You know, if the government's trying to protect the vaccine program in the U.S., or just trying to protect it because they think it's the best thing for society, then they are going to cover up data and information that might at some point challenge that presupposition. So they're going to cover it up. So in one sense of the word, their motivation is altruistic. They're doing what they think is best for society. But is it really? You know, are they just so locked in on this that they're not going to give in any weight? You know, so I think each scenario has to be looked on its own merit. You know, and also the presupposition behind it. Why should we trust the government? There's this we've been conditioned to say the government's trustworthy. Every movie that talks about the CIA says, oh, they're the best thing. They're trying to do the best for us. The FBI, NASA. If you show me a movie where that they're not some level or some TV series that's showing that the government, the FBI, all these things are looking out for our best interests. We've been conditioned to think that way. But is it really? Is the government out for our best interest? In my examination, it's not.
Congress passed a law that no one could sue a pharmaceutical company in the United States. And this includes their testing of new drugs. So they've got carte blanche to put poisons in everything because they'll never go to court. So why would the government not hold the people's feet to the fire if they do actually put poisons in the vaccines? Because they're getting kickbacks in the government biggest lobby group, one of them at least. And this is how these politicians come into a $120,000 a year job and leave out as multi-millionaires. It's so obvious.
There's only three motivations, I think, for lying: money, power, and sex. I think those are usually the three motivationals behind why people lie.
I remember.
Unfortunately, whenever you get to the question of why, unless you are those people, all you're doing is really speculating. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all you're really doing. Because I never really understand why. I mean, regular people know that other people lie. You know, it's like when you get to flat Earth, it's like all of a sudden, why would they lie? It's like, wait a minute, you knew people were capable of lying beforehand. What is it that you get to this and all of a sudden you forget that your government, you know, just regular people on the street are capable of doing that? It's a sad fact, but that's what it is.
And actually, it's funny, the why question speaks to intent. And actually, if you think about it, most of the things in life are why do we do things? Like, I can kill somebody, you know, I could just kill somebody. But it really comes down to why I killed them is the most critical component. Did I kill them because I was angry and I just wanted to get revenge on them? Or did I kill them because they were coming in and attacking my family? You know, I can use the same method. I can use a gun on both incidences, but it's the intent that is driving it. So the why question is an important question, but ultimately, like Chocolate said, only the person that's lying can ultimately answer that question.
Paul, to your example of our teachers teaching us the lies because they were lied to. I remember biology, and my teacher was also one of my physical education teachers, so he knew me well, and he brought up evolution. Now you got to, I mean, I'm like in my teens here, and I raised my hand up and I said, you know, I don't believe any of the stuff you're teaching us. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's something coming from nothing, especially as complex as life. And he kept answering me through the school curriculum, and I kept bringing up good arguments at that age, and I didn't know other than what I knew intuitively. So what happened was, the way the conversation ended, he looked at me and he says, and he called me by name, and he says, for the sake of the show, 10th man, I don't even believe it, but I have to teach it.
I actually had a biology teacher when I was in high school say the same thing. They said, I don't believe in evolution, but I have to teach it. So I've had the same thing happen to me when I was in high school, and that was back in the 80s.
This is South Park bit. Where's Arwen? Arwen. Is it Mr. Garrison? Is that the name of the teacher?
You're right, yeah. No, it was Mrs. Garrison at that time.
Oh, right, okay. He's transitioned.
Yes.
Okay, fine. But he has to teach evolution, and he pretty much says the same thing that you just said, Paul, which is, I don't want to teach this, but I've got to teach you anyway. So he makes a total mockery of it in the class. It was priceless.
Yep. And he gets very expressive about her disdain over it, basically. Like, extremely in the face of everyone's students, calling it totally retarded. And yeah, if you want to be stupid enough to believe that you're actually a retarded fish frog falling out of a monkey's butt, then you're an idiot.
Well, if you think about it, even the teacher's motivation is a money-based motivation. He doesn't want to lose his job. He doesn't want to lose his job because he won't have any money. If he doesn't have any money, he can't provide for his family. So the teacher's motivation to teach evolution ultimately comes down to money.
Which is the reason why Conspiracy Cats is conflicted. Obviously, he realizes that there are issues, but he teaches them anyway. At least his peers have the valid and legitimate defense. They're just teaching what they were taught and never even thought about it. But Conspiracy Cats is not in that position. He knows that there's issues, but he still teaches it anyway. He is the scum of society when it comes to that, because
look at this.
Right, so Anthony, what's this about what science is and what science isn't? what is science? What is science? Is it
experiments?
Yeah, astrology, astronomy. Are these sciences?
Wow, Arwen.
Yeah, it sucks.
No,
Just
they're not.
happened.
No.
They're totally overkill spraying here right now.
Wolverine's been in the sky. Check it out. No, Spurs. They're pseudosciences. They're not establishing the cause of an effect. So they might arguably be studying a phenomena, but they're not establishing the cause of it. They're not varying independent variable.
Right, capture being formed right there.
What happened
Anthony,
is,
can you turn your speakers down? Sorry.
Talking with Jem this morning about sciences. They didn't get actually to finish. But what was the understanding, Anthony? What did you get from all of that?
Right, so Spurs asked me would I go in and just chat about Apollo. So I went in just to listen. But I thought I could just go in there and listen and be under the radar because I didn't really want to engage with the enemy, because engaging in Jem's server for me is just like, it's like it becomes like 50v1 in the chat and I can't be bothered with it. So my intention was just to listen. However, I didn't realize that it notifies everybody when you join. So I didn't realize that I was already spotted. So I ended up getting involved in a back and forth, which was hopefully to explain the velocity to do with the return part coming back to Earth. But Jem took it onto the why is it that you adopt John's unique interpretation, very narrow interpretation of science? And basically, every time I tried to talk, he interrupted me every single time. And I misspoke. Well, I didn't even misspeak. He said to me, why is it that paleontology and geology and all of these things that John says are not science? And I basically gave the answer that you just gave, Nathan, which is that they can't prove cause. I said, like, if you think of astrology, and he immediately jumped on me and said, why do you keep saying astrology? I didn't say astrology, I said astronomy. And you guys are always, and I said, listen, it doesn't make any difference whether I said the wrong word in that instance or not. I'm contrasting them from science, and they both contrast from science. And he interrupted me again, so I left. Basically, because what he criticizes Nathan of, mute button, he was effectively doing the same by continuously over-speaking, and it drives me fucking mad. So there's no point in having a conversation, so I left. Now, obviously, when I leave, everybody goes, yeah, well, Jeremy, well done, good job, let me hold your willy for you. And I just think there's no point in trying to have a conversation if he continuously overspeaks me. What is the point? So I had to leave. But Jeremy's point is that he disagrees with John that paleontology, archaeology, phantomology, all of these ologies that are not science, he disagrees that they're not science because he wants John to provide a citation that says literally the words paleontology is not science because. Now, he won't accept that by applying scientific method to paleontology, you can work out why it's not science. He won't accept that. He wants a citation that says paleontology is not science. And I'm like, Jeremy, you're actually being very ignorant to what scientific method is. If you're prepared to listen, you'll understand why it's not. But he's not prepared to listen. He wants literally a Forbes document where M. Scott Veitch has said that paleontology is not science. Otherwise, he won't accept it. And I'm like, you can't talk to this guy. This guy's not here to learn. This guy's not here to accept what science is. This guy's here to literally do the very thing that he criticizes us for, which is having a semantic argument, regardless of the principle that we're trying to question.
Why do they say?
Riley, let me read a
hold on, but why do they say it is science? Just to clear up, why do they understand it to be?
Because they're applying colloquial interpretation of science rather than the science interpretation of science.
No, I've got a slightly different answer to that question. It's because science is empirical. You establish the cause of an effect, or you validate a null. So it proves or disproves a hypothesis. Yes, it's narrow, but it's very useful and powerful in its assertions after the application has been applied. So upon experimentation, you prove or disprove your hypothesis. So with that in mind, and when you're taught it as a child, you understand that it's the right way to do it to get an empirical result. If you have something that has no empiricism attached to it whatsoever, like looking at a star and telling you that it's a gas in a vacuum for it. What's going on? Anthony, you're causing a shitload of feedback. So if
Nathan, I have a challenge for that coming from a chat troll who calls himself Raving Mage. He says science is making observations and forming a theory that matches those observations.
No.
Pseudoscience forms a theory and tries to bring up evidence for it, just like flat Earth.
No, he's got the definition wrong in the first place.
Exactly. Like,
Well, they're
maybe Maze, would you
redefining
like
it.
to come on and tell us about that and tell us how that works? Because
That's the point. The redefining science.
Heliocentrism fanatics have been attempting to redefine and blur up the scientific method for hundreds of
he
years.
literally just said science is looking at something and forming a theory, and
That's not.
that's it.
It's proven that.
But I just want to answer Spurs' question. So to answer your question, Spurs, there's a lot of weight, and that weight lends the idea of validity to an assertion if you use the word science, because we're hardwired from our education to understand that you then have an empirical result. So if you say the science of the stars, people go, that means they know what they're talking about and can prove it and is empirical. It's not, it's pseudoscience, it's not establishing the cause and effect, it's not got an IV-DV relationship. You can arguably say that they have an observed phenomena, but that's it. They, in other words, adhere to step one only of the scientific method. Therefore, pseudoscience. But that's not very good if you're trying to tell people where they live and what the universe is. You need something with a bit more weight. So you say the word science and people nod along and go, all right, they've proved it then.
Yeah, no. I mean, again, I'm just looking at, well, you know, you're answering for them, but I'm just saying, you know, why do they see that as science? But you've answered it. That was just the question. Yeah. Well, I agree with it at all. I'm just looking at from their side, their shoes. You know, why do they think these things are science? And when they say things like scientific, I think they mean more precise.
Okay,
like
let me give you a different. Let me give you a different example. Let me just try and give you a different example. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that you are unskilled with a knife, but yet you want to extort money from people. Well, then it would be very useful to attribute a term to yourself. The term doctor. If you attribute this term, then you suddenly lend weight that you have skill that you may not have. So doctor's a very useful word, and it can be exploited. Science is the same. You can assert that you have done science, performing the method, when you have not. But your outcome that you are asserting has more weight if you use that word in the same way that somebody who has no skill can say the word doctor, and it is assumed they have the same skill of an actual doctor. So it's assumed you have the same empiricism of actual science, when pseudoscientists, the people pretending to be doctors, pretending to have adhered to the method, those people still need the same weight to pull their scam.
Again, it would be, I understand. Again, it would just be interesting to hear, you know, like a rumpus or someone say why they feel, if it's a feeling or if it's an, you know, empirical, why they see these things as science. Like, I haven't actually heard their answer, like their version. They just say, oh, it's science, just because. But do they have a detailed... But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, it's not cause and effect. That's pretty much...
It's a colloquial culture based on science. And it's just been overgeneralized, and it's a subculture, a Western subculture sprouting from media and from schooling, where these words have been introduced and popularized.
Too kind.
Yeah.
You're saying overgeneralized. I would say hijacked. You know, you're too kind, Darwin. The doctor, who's not a doctor, hasn't oversimplified the terminology, has he? He's just stolen it to make himself seem more credible than he actually is. And that's the exact same with the hijacking of the terminology when it comes to science. You want to seem more credible in your assertions, so you use that word to make what you assert seem legit. And with that, I'm going to say, if you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, unfortunately, this is where we bid you farewell. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in, smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. And of course, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this debate possible. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!